Okay.
Good afternoon, Counselor Winograd. You are all set. Thank you for your patience.
No problem at all. Thank you very much. Apologies for starting a little bit late. We had some technical difficulties, but I hope anybody who's watching stuck around. My name is Ben Winograd, Chair of Public Works, Facilities, and Sustainability. We have with us today our other committee members, Councilor Todanowitz and Councilor Anderson, and we also have our relevant staff people who will give their reports. So I'll call the meeting to order. I don't believe we have any minutes to approve. I didn't see any.
We do not, Mr. Chairman. We will have those at the next meeting. In fact, we're working with the vendor that's doing the minutes for us, and we are behind on a couple of different committees, and we'll have that cleaned up this month.
Very good. Thank you very much. And why don't we jump in? I don't believe we have any communications. We'll jump into staff reports, and based on people's schedules, we'll start with Catherine DeVinny with sustainability.
Mr. Chairman, Councilor Blanks, I think has a question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, didn't see it.
Chair Winograd, just for clarification purposes for the minutes, Anderson Blanks. I don't want any confusion. That's okay. I know my screen says Anderson.
You know, and Carol, I do that all the time. It does not matter what I know.
I'm still Anderson. I'm still Anderson.
I am a visual reader, a visual thinker, and if I see it, it does. I'll call my best friend by the wrong name because it's up there on Zoom. So I apologize for that. Too many years. That's ridiculous. Okay, thank you for correcting the record. But so let's go on to the sustainability update. Tell us what we got.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Winograd, and thank you for accommodating my schedule. So I sent a staff report. I'll just hit on some of the highlights, and then I won't go through everything. And if you have any questions, you can ask. But just wanted to highlight that this coming Monday will be the first meeting of the new Sustainability Commission. That's been for a while now. So they're looking to get off to a quick start. We have some returning members. We have some new members, but they have a lot of issues on their plate. And if there is anything in particular that you or the rest of the town council or the town manager would like them to focus on, please let me know, and we will share that with them in some of their initial meetings. But I think it's going to be a great group of people, and I think they're going to do a lot of interesting things for the town. I think just fair warning, I think they are going to push the council. I think they are going to push you guys on some issues. So there you have it. Following that on my report, I just highlighted a couple of events. One that happened today, a climate conversation with Connecticut Conservation League of Voters and some of our state representatives and legislative people were at that, which was kind of a cool event. And then next, in a couple of weeks, we have our second annual electric showcase at the town hall. We hope it's going to be bigger and better than ever. And we hope that Councilor Blanks or Anderson will bless us with her presence again and then take another ride. I hope you've purchased an e-bike by now. So there's my offer to you guys. We would love to have you come and show up to that event. Community TV will also be on site conducting live interviews, which is super fun. And Jen Evans usually brings some students with her to do that. Then some of the programmatic highlights. We are working, Bob and I are working with free technical assistance from Eversource on a kind of another energy efficiency project, a long-term campaign that's looking at our buildings to identify some low cost, no cost measures. It's been a while since we've focused on energy efficiency. These are kind of more operational issues, not some of the larger capital improvement projects that our schools need. But there could be some smaller projects and more operational and policy issues that we identify through that program, and I've highlighted some there. I talk a little bit about some of our ideas for the grant the town is receiving through one of the federal funding programs. And then we are also looking at enrolling a few more of our facilities and looking at variations on the demand response program that we are currently enrolled in with Eversource, which gives us financial payments for curtailing energy use on peak electrical demand days throughout the summer. Just want to let you know that the town, me and Bernie Pelletier, the former chair of the Clean Energy Commission, are participating on the behalf of West Hartford in a regional climate planning initiative that's being headed by CROG, also part of some of that federal funding. And then again, highlighting that it's time to start on Sustainable Connecticut. So we've alerted all the directors to the fact that by next August, we're going to have all our documentation in place, but we're also going to have to do complete some in-progress projects, as well as possibly do some new ones that are going to earn us points towards gold certification. I've highlighted one new energy campaign program, which will earn us points for Sustainable Connecticut. We've just signed a memorandum with the company we worked with. It's a nonprofit organization that we worked with back in 2012 on Solarize. We're going to do a similar campaign, which is now focused on not only solar, but also battery storage options, kind of packaging the two together. So that'll be an effort of the commission. Obviously, and I think John Phillips will highlight the work that's going on with the food waste pilot and some decision making that's going to need to happen around pay as you throw and that program soon. Catherine wanted to highlight that we do still have the 8 elementary schools that are doing food diversion in the cafeterias. They all started back up with no issues this fall, and she's planning to bring the other 3 elementary schools online pretty soon before turning her attention to the middle schools. And then I don't know whether John's highlighting, not in his public works section, but we are still working on the ongoing EV charging planning project with Stantec Consulting. And we've turned our recent attention to code zoning regulations and parking regulations that will need to be updated as part of that initiative, and different options for ownership models around that. There's my summary.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And if we were just talking before we came on the air, that we needed any reminder of the importance of your mission. The recent weather has certainly given us examples of, why this is important, right? And there's no question that, we're seeing impacts of changes, and got to do our part. So thank you for that. Yeah. Anybody have any questions? Blanks? No. Mark, I don't see. I assume if you had a question, he would shout it out. Going once, going twice. Well, I don't hear any, so thank you very much. And I'm sorry I missed that the talk today, but I'm sure
that's okay.
It
might have been recorded. If so, I'll make sure that you all can have a link to it.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ben, you can't see me?
Thank you.
Mark?
You can't see me?
Nope.
Oh, I can see everybody else.
Get the invisibility screen on. You have any questions? Have you been waving?
No, I don't have any. Nope.
Okay, well, we can hear you, which is the important thing. Okay, we'll move on. Mr. Palmer.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So daily operations, our buildings continue to operate in a satisfactory method. Our buildings HVAC systems were really put to the test last week during that hot and humid weather. We ran extended hours but overall, no major issues, a few minor things here and there, but no major system problems or anything like that. So we did well. So we continue to see a little bit of turnover with our part-time custodians in the town buildings. We've been hiring some people, but we've also lost some people too. So a little ebb and flow in that area. So the new Elmwood Community Center. So the RFQ for the architects is about ready to hit the street. It's been drafted. It's currently being reviewed by other town staff. It should be posted either tomorrow or at the latest on Monday. So that'll be off and going. So we will see responses back from interested firms by the end of October, and then we'll go through a committee selection process in November and December and have somebody before the holidays selected to begin that process. And they'll really pick up on the work that Tecton did with the feasibility study. That'll be the basis of design and moving forward. So, and at the same time, we'll begin the process for the demolition of the existing building on that site. So, and other capital projects. So, we continue to see very long lead times on some items in the supply. Electrical switch gear, HVAC equipment have generators have lead times of over a year at this point. Windows and doors are 6-9 months at this point. So it's causing us, we're trying to expedite projects as much as we can in order to get the ordering completed for next year, for next summer's projects. So it is having an effect on us. It's giving us a little bit of a lag, and then some of our projects are sitting a little bit further behind. So at this time of year, we're wrapping up a lot of this. We've wrapped up a lot of our summer construction, mostly in the schools, and now we're shifting gears, getting ready for next summer. So even during the summer, we began the design process and planning for next summer's projects, again, because of supply chain and lead times, just trying to get ahead of that. So on the town side, the animal control facility, so we've shifted that location to 705 Oakwood, which is the property that was recently purchased by the town. So the design will remain the same. We're just going to adapt that design for that facility. We do have to demolish the existing structure that's there, 2 structures that are there. So that will take first place, and then we'll be able to go in and do the construction of the animal control facility there. So we're still working on drafting the public safety facilities assessment. That's Tecton Architects again. So they're still working on that. We've been getting periodic reviews of parts of it, so it looks good. DPW roof, that was completed over the summer. Townwide generators, we are waiting to hear back from the state on a possible grant for that. Again, there's going to be very long lead times for those items once we do have that in process, but that's designed and ready to go, just waiting on that grant. We did renovate our engineering offices on the 2nd floor of Town Hall, so they look fantastic. Really a nice change for that area. We'll be focusing on the building department area next, and a little bit of the zoning area. So as updating those areas, also creating more space actually by eliminating some of the files in the building department especially. So new project that we've just began the design process on is the town hall restrooms and a lobby renovation. So the lobby renovation we identified a while ago, and town hall restrooms were also identified as a future project a while ago. So we've combined those together into one project. So we have some preliminary design that we've done with that, and we'll begin to go through that process. Probably would start that sometime next summer. So a major component of that project will be to reconfigure the lobby to meet our current security needs and servicing the public. The other part with the restrooms is updating them and also making them fully ADA compliant. So they do predate the 1991 ADA. There's some attempts for accessibility in those, but they don't meet the current code. So we'll be addressing those issues as well. So at Cornerstone, we're currently scheduling the replacement of an air handler. This air handler has been on order for 16 months. It finally just came in. So so it's a very long lead time on that for specialty equipment like that. So we have another one that's on order as well for that facility. So on the Board of Ed side, fresh air ventilation at Duffy and Webster Hill. So Duffy was bid earlier this summer. We've been going through the process of awarding it. So we are just about to award it. And we'll begin that process again. It'll be we anticipate it's going to be a 2-year project. We need 2 summers in order to get it done. It's both windows and ventilation, along with air conditioning. So, and again, there's very long lead times on some of those items in order to complete that project. But we can begin next spring, hopefully, is the anticipated start date, and then work our way through and get it ready for the summer after we would complete. Webster Hill, we're just wrapping up the design for that project at this time. There is an opportunity for a state grant as that was just announced last week, I believe, by the state. So we'll be taking that project and hopefully applying for a grant with that, as long as we can meet the requirements of that state grant. We'll explore that further, but I think we should be able to meet that. So tennis courts at Conrad and Hall are finally complete. The final surfacing went down sometime in June, early July. The wet weather in the spring didn't help us with that, but those are complete. They look great. We did put new lighting up at Hall. There were 4 courts up there that were lit previously. We put new lighting in. Unfortunately, we're having some issues with that new equipment. So the repairs are in process. So we should have that resolved pretty quickly if you hear anything back on that. Auditorium seating, we've completed Hall. That was a multi-year project to get that all seating refurbished, but it looks fantastic. School is very thrilled with it. We're currently in the process of doing the same thing at King Philip, which is a very large auditorium. It's about 700 seats as well. So it's going to take us quite a bit of time. We do small sections at a time so we don't interfere with the use of the facility. Flooring replacements at King Philip and the Northfelt Gym were completed this summer. For Northfelt Gym, we went with a rubber floor. So it looks really great. That's a product that we used at Elmwood Community Center a couple of years ago. The floor at Northfelt wasn't wood before; it was a asbestos tile, actually. So it looks really great, and the school's very pleased with it. So it should be a nice addition to that facility. Restroom renovations at Sedgwick. This is the second phase of that project. It's still not completed. We anticipate it to be completed by the end of September. So front entrance improvements at Duffy, those are substantially complete. We are waiting on some final components to arrive. Again, some very long lead times, so we probably won't see that till later fall, early winter at this point. We've done a variety of playground improvements at the Wolcott, Duffy, Webster Hill, Smith, and Aiken in process at this point. We did parking lot improvements at both King Philip and Brayburn this past summer. So King Philip was the back school off of the back driveway and parking area off of Mohawk. That was all been resurfaced and redone. Brayburn, we redid the entire site, the entire parking area and driveway, made quite a few significant improvements in safety. Really created a separate bus lane drop off for safety to separate the parent drop off versus the bus drop off, like we have at most schools. So, at King Philip, we also removed 5 modular classrooms that were at the end of their life. So that was a good improvement. Roof replacements. So now we look at going forward, what projects are we working on for the next summer and the few summers after that. So we have roof replacements scheduled for Brayburn, Hall, and Bugby, all in design right now. Brayburn and Hall will go first in the next year or 2. Hall will be a multi-year replacement, as it's a significantly larger building, and there's multiple roofs on that building. So we'll do that in sections, probably 2 to 3 year project on that. Where Brayburn and Bugby, we can complete those in one summer season typically. So We are working with Nutrition Services on redesigning the kitchen serving lines at Hall, Conard, and Sedgwick in order to make improvements for those cafeterias. We're also looking at exterior door replacements. For the majority of the doors at Hall will be replaced under this program. Again, very long lead times. That's actually out to bid right now for next summer, so hopefully we'll get those in time. We're also looking next summer for restroom renovations at Hall in the academic areas, and if you're familiar with Hall in the B building, that's what we're going to focus on. Our flooring replacement project for next summer will be at Whiting Lane, and we're also working on the main office relocation at Wolcott. We're going to do something very similar to what we did at Bugby, where we're going to bump out on the front of the building and create that office with the secured entry for security. And then the space that's internal, we're going to repurpose for small group instruction within the building. So that's going to be that would be a 2-summer project in order to do that. So that's my update. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Any questions from committee? Ms. Blanks.
Thank you, Councilor Winograd. Let's see, couple of questions for you, Bob. On the Conard tennis courts, are there seating? Is there seating for the courts? Or is it just a blank court?
No, was there seating there before? I can't remember.
I was trying to think about that as well. I could have.
I know Hall has
There
it.
was.
Yeah, because Hall, we did bleacher pads and everything over there.
Yeah, I was just over there just an hour ago, and I was looking at the courts, as a matter of fact, and
We,
there might be a small bleacher there.
Yeah, and what is different there is that we took out the hedges along the driveway.
Right,
Which opens that up now. So now it kind of says, oh, we probably should put some seating here. So.
Yeah, it looks a little bare.
So someone else had asked me that question last week, and I hadn't followed up on it yet, but we probably will add something in there. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And then my other question on the exterior door replacements, how many of those are there going to be?
Oh my.
I'm just curious. If you don't have that answer now, we can talk later. And this
I'm gonna say it's probably about 20 doors, 20 sets of doors.
Okay.
Yeah, 20 doors. Some individual, some are sets of doors. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, what about the restroom renovations? How many of those?
It'll be 2 sets of. So it'll be 4 total restrooms, two men and 2 women. Yep, on the 2nd floor. The B building.
Okay.
The B wing.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Councilor Winograd, Chairman. I'm good.
Thank you. Mr. Zadanowitz.
You can see me now?
I can see you now.
All right, I had to reboot. Hey, Bob, thanks. Just quick on the town hall lobby renovation. Is it going to be kind of like man trap like the schools?
No, we don't anticipate that at this point. So the door configuration will stay the same. It's more about where the welcome desk is will be more. I still got to. We still have to work out some of this design. It's in consult with police and security about it. But is what I'm envisioning, at least at this point, is that it's that welcome desk kind of gets pushed towards the center, so that all people that are coming in have some type of an interaction and get directed to where either they're dropping something off, they're asking a question, or they know where they're going and they're just going to proceed to where they're going. So, okay. So that's really, I think, the model that we're looking at right now. But again, it's still early in the design, so that could change. So.
All right, thanks. And I don't necessarily think it's selfish question, but I remember talking about this back on the Board of Ed days, is that the tennis courts came out amazing, and the price to the town was absolutely perfect because it was all grant money. But I thought they were talking about putting like Hall and Connard, the logos and stuff on the courts, and it never happened or couldn't do it. I don't know if CIAC couldn't do it or something.
Yeah, I mean, that was really the athletic director's decision about what
Okay.
he selected the colors and all that stuff. So I let him.
Yeah,
do
they
it.
look great. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
his, and I think we did have some discussions about that, and he really just wanted them to be the traditional tennis court colors.
Oh yeah, no, I was just looking at the Connard logo and that's all. But yeah, fine. All right. Thank you.
Nothing else? That was it. All right. Well, a very good, complete report, and I thank you for that. And there's a lot going on, so appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Anyway, got anybody else? Yeah, John. Mr. Phillips. Not getting out.
All right. Good evening, John Phillips, Director of Public Works. Appreciate your time this evening. Yeah, obviously, we uploaded our report. Although it's a report for August, but a lot of it can really play into July because we didn't meet in August. We're very busy this summer. Our roadway systems, our properties, and our infrastructure, performing as anticipated. Even with yesterday's rain, we anticipated a lot of the flooding area that we saw. Because it happened during the daytime, we pre-staged a lot of our teams in areas we knew where water was gonna rise, so we can, at least from a public safety standpoint, address water over the road areas and monitor those areas that are known to us. We did identify a couple of new areas, but again, yesterday's rainfall really spun up on top of us, in real time. It really wasn't. It was forecasted, but not, but it really started between Bristol and West Hartford as far as its actual dominance to the area. Anyways, but it was good to see the system did work, even though we had the water on the road by noon, by 12:30 at the latest in some of our lowest areas. The water had all dissipated, and Trop Brook itself started to come down and proceed downstream as designed. So happy to report that although we had the water over the road, it did experience, the system did work very well for the conditions that they were put under. Our notables, really, from a summer notable, we're experiencing, most of you probably, have your own homes and you mow your own lawns. Can you remember the last time you mowed your lawn? Every couple of days in the month of August, right? Usually August, you get that reprieve a little bit. You get the step back, your grass goes dormant because of heat, and you don't have to mow and just a big dust bowl out there. That's certainly not the case this year. So we've been extremely busy with our mowing schedules. Very, very typical to a April and May timeframe. It just has been relentless as far as mowing goes. So that's taken a lot of our grounds maintenance time and activities. We're also seeing a significant increase in tree responses, tree removal activities. For removals, hazard prunings, and stump grindings related to a removal, 47% up over the same period last year, which I think is a phenomenal amount of work increase to the workforce on top of a growing season that never gave us a break. So again, grounds maintenance side has been extremely busy this summer. If you recall, most of you have probably seen it or maybe even received it in your own inboxes as council members. There was an editorial of Vision Zero and the walkability of West Hartford, specifically about walking through neighborhoods and having to walk around overgrown hedges or tree belts that were growing with vegetation but folding over in a walkway and people not wanting to walk through that area and being forced to walk in the street. We saw an increase of 35% of work orders in that space since that editorial was issued on in the vein of Vision Zero. So we've been out investigating those and confirming just about all of them that we could find or that do get reported to us. And I'm proud to report that the residents that we've made contact with were responsive and cut back their hedges or cut back their grass, bring the sidewalk to full width. I'm not saying we're perfect there. We still have a lot of work to do. We're more in a reactionary position and these kinds of calls. We don't have the resources to be proactive and scour our 150 plus miles of sidewalks for these activities. But it was just ironic or just coincidental, but that editorial did kick off a steady stream of work orders to open up our sidewalk systems for walkability. Again, because of the rains we've had this summer, which date back to probably the holiday weekend of 4th of July, we've been doing a lot of our MS4 inspections of our storm system, doing a lot of catch basin rebuilds and discoveries of issues, and certainly a lot of cleaning and street sweeping to keep up with a clean street model, so that when it does rain, we minimize the impact of debris in the streets. We only had a couple events. We do obviously support the Blueback Square Farmers Market each Sunday. The only significant event we had this summer was the center bike event. That turned out to be a very large event, well turned out. Weather was perfect. That Sunday before school started, I think a lot of people are home, and the center itself was just a big draw for a lot of families. So the traffic was heavy. We closed down a lot of streets, but all in all, it was very successful. Within the report, there's certainly a lot of data on our municipal parking operation. It only highlights July's, because at the time of this report, we didn't have all of our August numbers in, but I do today as a verbal. We're just about the same, 381,000 for July. We're right about the same for the month of August as far as revenues taken in. So we're above the last 2 monthly averages, but we're still not exceeding pre-COVID numbers. Couple factors there. Parking habits have probably changed a little bit since the pandemic. Plus, we also took a lot of our inventory out of the paid parking system because of the on-street dining. So while we entertain the on-street dining, it'll probably be very difficult for us to achieve pre-COVID revenue numbers. Our park enforcement is still maintaining a strong presence, although we don't want it to be a focus on parking enforcement. And we're averaging about 1.25% of our transactions for ticket enforcement. But we are exploring new technologies and opportunities in parking. An LPR system will be attached to our vehicle. The parking monitors monitor the paid parking system on street, off street, and the garages over a mile square area. There's about 2,500 spaces to monitor or enforce. And this system will just allow them to cover more ground and be more efficient. But it'll also collect data, important data for us about utilization of our parking systems. And so we're moving forward on that initiative. And our relationship with Del Mar continues to be very strong. They had strong occupancy all summer long. As you can see their numbers, they've been above the average line that we carry with them as far as utilizing our parking services. So we're proud of the very strong relationship that Brooke Nelson and the whole parking team maintains with Del Mar Hotel. What we probably will need to start talking about, not necessarily today, but I do want to set the table about further discussions. The pilot program is still underway. It's going very well. As a whole, we're seeing phenomenal results back on the food waste diversion. A lot of positive feedback. We're starting to get feedback from residents who've been doing it now pretty much more than 3 months, and seeing within their own households changes that they have made, and providing us that positive feedback on that. And so we're happy with what's going, but we've probably hit a plateau. We're still sitting at 50% of the participants participating in that space. Maybe with fall and families are back from vacations, we can start seeing a growth, word of mouth, neighbor to neighbor, talking about the program and the success of the program. Certainly food waste diversion is becoming a top of mind conversation, not only locally, but at the state level. So I think there'll be a lot more coming on that conversation. Because food waste diversion was not necessarily the focus, but it was seen like at the beginning, rollout education was the most grasped by the residents. We really focused on that, and that's why we're seeing the dividends paying back on participation for that. And so now we're shifting gears in the page a throw component of the pilot program, and we're starting to do a deeper dive and understanding of the lack of participation, what's going on there, what is the mindset of our residents in using it. And we're collecting data, verbal data. We are going to conduct a waste characteristic study, which is we're going to pull some of the waste out of the trucks that we collect and actually rip open the bags and look through it, so we can create data to show and use it as an educational piece. Other communities that are in this grant have done the same thing and create TikTok reels or social media reels to show waste still being mixed and can be separated, meaning we can do better, and start showing some percentages and just characterize our waste, West Hartford's waste as a whole, not just the pilot area. We're going to go out to other neighborhoods to also do bring in some of that waste and just do a characterization study and develop some data as far as educational tools that we can get better at diverting our waste, and can get better in a lot of ways. Some can argue we need to get better. But yeah, preliminary looking at our page through our program, we're probably only seeing a 20% participation rate. And that number comes from just a quick snapshot of seeing a full load of trash dumped at the Covanta incinerator system. And you just kind of do a quick look at how many orange bags are in there. And there just isn't a lot. So Catherine Bruns is really putting her focus in that, getting the word out, and we're going to do, like I said, a deeper dive on understanding the lack of participation, how we can grow that participation. So we're hopeful that we should see better numbers than that. At the very least, we're hopeful to at least gain education on the residents who are participating. But Catherine and I both agree that our education will go out more broadly, not just the participants, because we want the entire town. We want to be transparent with the whole town of what we're doing in this neighborhood, because of what next steps could be. So what next steps could be, we've got a lot of work to do to get a report built up, but we would like to come to this committee later this fall and present our findings. They'll probably be delivered by the management team at DEEP, who's managing this grant for the town of West Hartford. We're certainly participating with that management team. And so we would like to get on the agenda and probably more of an in-person, because there'll be more people there, and it may be awkward for an online meeting. And we'd like to present some of the results, some of the findings, and talk about some of the next steps that can happen. Talk about some proof of concepts of programs that we could introduce in West Hartford, and just really move this pilot to potentially something greater, obviously with everybody on this committee's leadership, as well as others on the council. The question I want to leave this committee with, and you can talk to your fellow council members about, is really, since 2016, nothing has changed. Since I started this conversation, the community conversation on better waste management, volume reduction, diversion of materials that can be diverted away from landfill and incinerations. And really nothing's changed. Our volume of waste back then was over 18,000 tons. We're still over 18,000 tons. Yet in that time frame, we've tried things to try to bring down that waste volume. And none of the programs that we've introduced have worked. The very successful yard waste program is working. It's working very well, but that 1,500 tons plus isn't going into the waste stream. But we also think there's a multiplier there because of the growing seasons that we've been experiencing. The weed growing seasons we've been experiencing over the last couple of years is probably generating more waste. But that program is well received, and I think the public is really grasping it. We continue to sell yard waste barrels monthly and add to that infrastructure to continue to improve that piece. But on the waste side itself, we sit flat at over 18,000 tons of waste, and that's something that we have to work on. So the question I want to pose is, what is a community goal around waste management and waste and reduction? Again, we don't have to answer this tonight. I just leave that question to ponder and to think about, because I think we have to answer that question, create that goal, demonstrate our interest to achieve that goal. And then as your director, administrator, I'll be in a better position to work on programs and bring programs forward that can be beneficial to reach the concepts of the goals that as a community that we can establish. Catherine Divinity kind of hinted on it. Our Sustainability Commission, when she says they're probably pushing, this is one of their main topics that they want to talk about more publicly, more in bigger settings with the community to enhance this topic. Again, it's probably, for a public works issue, it's our #1 issue next to infrastructure maintenance, aging infrastructure maintenance. I think they run in parallel to each other as far as importance to the community. And I don't think there's a third. There's really a 1 and a 2: old age infrastructure maintenance and trash management. And, I said the other night, I kind of drew the short straw, these two major issues to manage them for you, but I'll certainly need your help and guidance so I can be a good administrator for you in these two topics. Happy to take any questions based on the report or anything else, or bring forward to the committee anything in our next meeting.
Thank you, John. And we do appreciate all your efforts and your times on the hot seat. We're running you there. I love the idea of the audit. And actually, I'd love to participate. So, and you see it for myself, and I can't speak for any fellow council people, although I know Mark is going to jump up and volunteer too. But yeah, but no, I think that would actually be really educational. And you know, that if that could be arranged, I'd appreciate it.
I think it can be Catherine Bruns, who's on the call tonight. She's helping to get the logistics together. And when we get some dates, we're going to open the trash bags down at Public Works and just filter through it. Some examples that we've seen on video, you know, you find whole pizza boxes with literally a whole pizza in the garbage, right? Those are examples where we can do better. And those are great pieces for education about just being smarter and better about it. And like I said, food waste diversion is going to be probably a number one topic of this upcoming legislation session that comes up next fall, winter, spring.
Yeah, thank you.
See, we need more bears in West Hartford so they can help with the food waste and that pizza.
That's right.
You know, Mark, it's funny you brought that up. With all the bear activity we've had bear activity. We've had bears tip over green barrels, right? That aren't in the pilot program. We have not had one bear issue in the pilot program. And there are over 400 homes setting out a dedicated buffet, if you would like for a better word,
interesting,
every single day, and nobody has reported a bear issue of having a feast on that potential.
All right, bring one up to my house. I'm Bear Central.
I bet you are.
Yeah, the bears aren't watching us, so they're not getting any hints. So anybody have any questions?
I got a couple of quick ones. Thank you, Councilor Winograd, and thank you, Mr. Phillips. You know, I always appreciate your passion and the education that you bring around these issues, particularly around the aging infrastructure, which continues to smack us in our face every time we have a storm, because now it gets to the point where people are holding their breath when the forecast is coming up because they're wondering and hoping that their basement isn't flooded too bad or worse from the last storm. So I just appreciate the information that you bring to the table around this issue, and now with trash management. So personally, I want to be able to learn as much as I can from you, and in terms of going forward and how we address this issue, because now we see with our aging infrastructure structure that how we put it off, we keep kicking these things down the road, and then all of a sudden everything converges all at once, just like the water. So thank you for that.
Yep.
And then the other piece, now that I walk more, I appreciate you, your staff and team, as well as Vision Zero, because I have experienced that same very thing when I'm walking and all the shrubbery is hanging over the sidewalk, and now I feel like I need to walk into the street, especially in the evening hours, because I'm not sure what's going to dart out from the bushes, like perhaps a skunk, and then I'll be in big trouble. So I really appreciate that. And again, learning more information from you, and perhaps, you know, how I can post and bring more information to the community about that. Because I'm sure when people either move in, move out, or renters come in, you know, I see a lot of stuff that's unkept. You know, I've reached out to Rick, and I just often wonder if people, you know those simple basics about maintenance of the exterior of the home. You know, the trash cans, the shrubs, how often you really need to cut that back, and the hazards that it potentially can cause. So thank you.
You're
really
spot
no
on,
question,
Councilwoman
just a
Blanks.
comment.
Yeah. Well, I do want to respond a little bit. Your walking experience is valid. As you reach out to the public, and if you're communicating with your constituents, so they're reaching out to you, the best way they can reach Public Works is that report a problem portal that you can find through the town's website. If that system goes directly to the management team and the workers, it goes directly to them on their cell phones. If you catch lightning in a bottle, you might catch them on the street. The call may come in, and they can do it instantaneously. It's that innovative, where and that can reach our employees out in the field. If not certainly in the field, it gets queued up and gets scheduled immediately. We take those types of work orders at a higher level of importance. We certainly don't make it the highest priority, but we do bring them up higher than medium, and we try to get those addressed as soon as we can. Again, we can't be everywhere, so eyes and ears and sight is very important, especially from our evening walkers. So I appreciate your efforts. And again, that's one thing you can do to help us, help your residents achieve better. And it's funny you bring that up, new homeowners. We've had those conversations where we're surprising homeowners of what their full responsibility of home ownership is, especially your very new homeowners who have rent, I've only rented if never had to do this. Well, you own the bushes right up to this curb line, and all this is your responsibility. So if you want to be a good neighbor and represent yourself, grooming your bushes is a part of that process.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mark. Nope. And one thing, John, I wanted to, in your report you mentioned, and I appreciate that, some work on the Webster Walk stairs.
Oh yes, yep.
It's been sort of a frustration of mine over the years. It's amazing how quickly those sort of seem to have.
It does. We've got a contract in place to get that going, so that should happen later this fall. Like Mr. Palmer indicated, labor workforce is pretty maxed out, so we're a victim of scheduling. We don't have lead time on material issues, but we have lead time on labor issues in that space. But actually, something sensitive to you, we did recently replace the water fountain and dog fountain. We put a better system in. The public wasn't using the old-fashioned, mouth to water system, and so it's a bottle fill station it's still incorporated with a dog button and a bowl on the bottom, and so that actually just got replaced this past week.
I have not seen it yet, so thank you for that. I'll run over and look. Bring my dog and run over and look.
Your dog will enjoy it, but I think the public would be more receptive to the bottle fill than the old-fashioned, fountain, mouth to fountain.
Right, with the COVID, that's excellent. Thank you very much for that. All right, so if we have nothing else on this report, I don't know that we have anything else on the agenda.
We do not.
Yeah. All right, well, then I'll thank everybody for their attention tonight and for some excellent reports. And in terms of the scheduling of DEEP, certainly I'll talk to the manager and we'll work out offline. We can talk about and with you, John, as well, figure out when the best time for that is.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.